Early stone fruit is always a challenge because it harvests in such a quick amount of time from the stage of petal fall forward. This variety is no exception, being that it harvests the second week of June. This week being early, it could definitely be the end of May, 1st of June. So that makes it even more incumbent upon making sure everything is working right, soil and the tissue. And that's where a full program, and it's customized with your nutrition, is going to be in your best interest on a year like this one. Hello, Marc Suderman coming to you again. I'm in a nectarine block, and what we're doing is looking at how cell division is occurring post petal fall. At this stage, there's a lot of important things going on, so I want to cover some of those for you today and see how that can be helpful to you, but also maybe just shed a little bit of light on what all is going on. In this block, thinning hasn't started yet, but it's still a little bit early. What the concern really should be, physiologically speaking, is what stage of growth this plant is in. So as you can see, the fruit is all out of the jackets and starting to size. Got a small one here that pollinated a little bit later, so it probably will be thinned off. But the others are all fairly uniform in their size dimension. What's important to note is how the canopy is growing, how it's coming out. And as you can see there, it's just starting to go. But these leaves yet are not mature size, and there's not enough of them yet to start sustaining itself. That's where your foliar nutrition at bloom and during that bloom stage is so important, because what you're doing is you're fortifying the plant during a stage that's really critical. So what's occurring here at post petal fall is canopy development. And the challenge is that the tree is also trying to cell divide for the fruit size in addition to the canopy growth. That is a tremendous energy demand. And the key is, as a grower, how have you supplied that demand? Or have you? Because the plant is going to grow the canopy because it's got to photosynthesize as quickly as possible. But is it coming at the cost of your fruit size? Take, for instance, nice growth like this. Nice shoot coming up, replacement for in the future. Another one here. This is all a very important part of the whole growing process. But at the same time, we've got all this fruit that's hanging here because we haven't thinned yet. And so that cell division process is really critical. Phosphate is really an important energy source, especially while our soil temperatures are cool. In addition to that, cytokinin stimulates cell division. That's an important tool that also benefits. And there's some growth hormones that can also be put on that are beneficial to help this whole process be more efficient. Because ultimately, the faster, or I should say the more rapidly, you can have a mature canopy photosynthesizing, the sooner that that plant is self-sustaining and feeding itself, making sugars and growing those primary metabolites to develop that whole plant structure. And then in time, as it gets more efficient, the secondary metabolites that are so critical for overall plant health, flavors, colors, self-defenses, etc. That all is the good stuff, but only comes after the primary metabolites have been addressed. Let's talk about photosynthesis a little bit further. So as we're going through this cell division stage, there's a couple of other things to keep in mind if we're trying to stimulate that plant for not only cell division of the plant, but fruit too, but then also the photosynthetic efficiency. There are factors that can be applied nutritionally that can really emphasize the photosynthetic efficiency of the plant, especially in spring when it's developing. keep in mind some traces. Your tissue analysis can help guide you, but just as good management practices. On your canopy, where you've got these nice leaves all developing, one of the most important things to do is give it the right nutrition. Magnesium, very critical for photosynthesis. But as you can see, we don't have enough leaves yet quite to really start feeding itself. This is getting closer. But you need manganese, zinc, and the best way to put on boron is all season long in small amounts via the foliar spray. And the reason why is that manganese, zinc, and boron are all crucial for translocation of sugars. Well, the whole process of photosynthesis is to make sugars. And when it's making sugar, if you've got surplus happening that's being created in this leaf, and it runs out of the right kind of catalyst to move that back into the plant or into these buds to stimulate that whole health of that plant or this fruit, it's going to wait until it has those traces back available to move it again. And so things like boron, zinc, and manganese are far more important than maybe we realized, because they can become limiting factors to the overall photosynthetic efficiency of the process. But foundationally speaking, magnesium is super crucial to stimulate that process and support it. Iron's also important, but what you will find is that many times iron gets tied up in soils that are calcareous with above neutral pH soils. Many times, by just adding some phosphate, an energy source, that phosphate will help move more iron into the plant, because many times the soil and or the plant is just a little bit phosphate deficient, and the iron can be liberated and made available to the plant to use. The other side of it is there are certain speciations of microbiology that work in the soil that also help to cleave iron and make it available. But typically these are an issue, iron becoming available that is an issue in calcareous soils that tend to be above neutral pH. Anyway, a number of factors to consider, but at this stage of cell division, it's important to focus on doing everything you can to help that plant to photosynthesize as quickly as possible through the process of cell division and the right nutritional diet. Hey, thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope this information is helpful. Here's to your crop success.